when did you come up with the idea for BLM?
The idea for BLM came up a few years ago after the murder of Michael Brown. And whenever that happened, it was really like a pivotal moment. Everybody was, out doing protests, hands up, don't shoot, whether it's from Ferguson all the way across the country and around the globe. And it really inspired me to make a song like BLM and to write these lyrics. And then as it kept developing, more people kept getting murdered, and there were more protests and more people making their voices heard. And I'm out there in the streets, protesting with folks too. And it just kept building and growing all the way up until the music video that we ended up creating just last year for it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just really about, whether or not, like, first of all, if you're Black, my hope is that you definitely feel and connect with, the song as I do. But then at the same time, for anybody who's listening to it, just to recognize that the amount of humanity that has been stripped away, or has been attempted, I should say, to be stripped away from Black people in this country since since before the inception of this country, is still still very relevant to how this country functions today. And so people might feel like there's a disconnect between, whether it's, 1619 and those first slave ships that arrived here all the way until, the murder of George Floyd, and even what's currently still going on. There's so much humanity that there's an opportunity for the rest of, the country and the world to really see and recognize and tap into, to understand that Blackness, is considered a race, but it's broader than that. It's a culture. It's a, way of life. It's a, beyond just even this country. There's so many Black people around the world who are continually oppressed. And it's not just an American situation. The focus and the inspiration and the visualization that is expressed in the music video and in the song is definitely based on what's going on specifically here in this country, but it can be extrapolated and taken to any scenario and any situation around the world, and it can still be readily applicable. So it's really just, my hope that people can understand and recognize the broadness of Blackness and how much global systemic oppression, folks like myself and many others are still fighting through every day. But yeah, there's so much depth and nuance to the entire circumstance and situation. It's good that everybody is doing really what they can, including folks like you, to draw attention to the history, the legacy, and the impact that, white supremacy has had in such a negative way around the world.
I think if people understood that prisons were actually just formed so that they could take slaves and legally make them clear the fields and pick the cotton, and it's literally what they did, I think they'd understand. If they understand that police forces were started to track slaves, no other reason. They didn't investigate crimes. They didn't do anything like that. And so I don't think people understand, like, this is root cause from the beginning.
Yeah. Yep. You're absolutely right about that. And, if we can't, uproot it from the source and kind of, weed these things out, at the root itself, it's going to continue to regrow and repopulate and reinfest. And so, it's up to everybody to really do their part. So thank you as well.
Well, yeah. And then one of the arguments I get online, right, and then I've came to the perfect response is that, oh, but all lives matter, right? You hear that all the time. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. All lives matter. But when we say something like, we need to save the dolphins, we are not saying fuck the dogs. Right. We are saying that there is a group of people in this country who are under siege, literally, and they need the help of everybody else. It's not just because it's Black Lives Matter, fuck everybody else. And that, became the most ridiculous argument.
Of course. Yeah, because anybody who is on the other side, quote unquote, is definitely going to try to throw up anything to impede the logic behind, the Black Lives Matter movement. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, that song just hit me, man. Like, I just felt it. So when I asked you, I wanted you on for Old School, and then I asked you, hey, what songs do you want? Right. Because it goes about you guys and introducing everybody to you guys, or you guys to everybody. and you sent those over, and I just kind of listened to it like 3 times in a row going, man, that was fucking deep.
Wow. Thank you. Wow. I really appreciate that. Wow. Yeah.
No, I felt what you were doing, man. And like in any music, I don't care if you're a blood from the street. If I feel the pain or the like struggle you went through, then that music sits more with me, and I could feel what you were saying in the music. So it rang in with me.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Yes.
All right.